do this by sharing stories and tips regarding techniques, regulations related to crabbing, and demonstrating how to catch and prepare blue crabs, Jen's all-time favorite food.
It's getting to be that time of year again. Sun's out, warm outside. Time to put on your tank top and your flip-flops. And yeah, it's my favorite time of the year because I love the beach. Also, because it's crab season again, April through November. I love going to the beach in the summertime and hanging out at an outside restaurant on a deck being served piping hot crabs, corn on the cob, and ice cold beer. But that's the easy way to get crabs. I would much rather get out there and get my hands dirty on a dock and a pier, and I get the satisfaction of catching my crabs and then cooking them myself at home. So what I'm going to demonstrate today is how to catch crabs and then prepare them. Now, there are 3 ways that I can tell you about how to catch crabs. When I was younger, we used to go to the beach every weekend. And we would go fishing in the morning, and on our way out, we would take our 2 crab pots out and put them in the river, and on the way back, pick them up, and these crab pots used to be full of crabs. One thing we learned, we had 2 different colored pots. One was black, and one was this color. And the black one actually caught a lot more crabs. Was it due to the type of murky water that was in the Broadkill River? I don't know. But as the years went by, that dark colored one caught a lot more crabs. When we would come in and we would fillet our fish, we would take those fish heads, put them in the freezer, and that would be part of our bait for the next day for our crab pots. Another way to crab is to use the crab trap, which is a 4-sided metal trap, and you would throw that in the water. When it would hit the ground, the 4 sides would open up. The crab would be able to crawl in and grab onto the bait, and then when you went to pull that line, it would set the trap and the crabs would be caught in the trap. What I'm going to show you today is how to use crab line. Now, with the crab traps, you're only allowed to have 2 traps per person. And the limit, if you're on a pier, is 3 dozen per person. And as far as your line, you can have as many lines on the pier as you want. One thing you need to know about is the current and the tides of where you are crabbing. If the current is really strong, you want to make sure you have enough weight on this line so that it's actually going to hit the ground when you put your bait on. So as I mentioned earlier, we use fish heads or chicken necks. What you do is you secure your chicken neck to the line, and you toss it out there pretty good. And then you want to, this is the waiting game, but what you want to do is make your line taut so it's heavy and you can feel the end of the line where your sinkers are and your bait. And eventually you'll start feeling this little bump on the line. It's when the crab is actually on that bait and picking at it, and you want to slowly pull that crab towards the pier. Now, another thing I learned over the years is that the closer you get this bait to the surface, and when the crab is getting to see the sunlight, he gets freaked out. So the closer the crab gets to the pier, you want to have your net ready, and you want to scoop that crab up and get it in your net as soon as possible. Now, if you'll notice, this net is made of metal. This is perfect for when you're crabbing, because if you ever used a nylon net for like fishing, crabs can actually, pierce the net and put holes in them. So, after years of experience, I've learned how to handle crabs. What you want to do is you want to hold it by these swim fins, which are the very back fins. They're like the rounded ones. If you hold a crab like this, he can actually grab a hold of you with his pinchers and pinch onto your skin. So you want to grab them by their back swim fins. How do you tell a male from a female? The male crab on the abdomen is shaped like the Washington Monument. Skinny. The female crabs are shaped more like the Capitol building. It's like a dome shape. Another important thing to know for females, if there's a spongy orange material on the abdomen, that's a pregnant female and you cannot keep them. That's illegal. You have to throw them back. Another regulation, your crab has to be at least 5¼ inches long. Back in the day, we used to use beer cans or soda cans. And what you want to do is if there's a crab that's in question, you want to hold it up there. The can is 5 inches. You want to make sure those points are longer than the can. My family was partial to the male crabs because the meat was more tender and there was a lot more in the crabs. We always toss the females away. Now the regulation is you cannot keep the females, so you have to only keep males. So keep that in mind when you're crabbing. Now, the next thing I'm going to show you is how to prepare your crabs. One important thing is the type of pot that you're using. You want a pot that the crabs are going to sit in, but they're not actually going to be touching the bottom where the liquid is of your ingredients. And when you want to get your crabs after a long day, you'll have lots of crabs in your basket. You have to go through and you have to cull them. Culling, C-U-L-L-I-N-G. That is to get rid of the dead crabs because you do not want to eat a dead crab because you can get really sick, food poisoning. How do you tell if a crab is dead or not? You want to blow on its face. And if it's alive, it will move around. So you want to make sure you are only getting the live crabs. Now, to prepare, you are going to use 3 parts vinegar, or 1/3 vinegar, 1/3 water, and 1/3 beer, and a little bit for the cook. You also want to put 2/3 cups of Old Bay seasoning in the bottom of your pot. You want to bring that pot to a boil, and then you want to put your crabs in. Now, cooking time is 25 to 30 minutes. And I suggest you use tongs when you're going to pull your crabs out because they're going to be hot. How do you know when a crab is finished? They will be a red or orange color. And you'll notice if there's any type of discoloration around the edges, that crab is not finished. If they're in a pot, sometimes they have a tendency for the outer edge of the crabs on the outer edge to get cooked faster, the middle ones not as fast. So you definitely want to make sure, especially for the middle crabs, that they are actually cooked the whole way. Next thing you do, you want to put your crab on the plate, sprinkle a little bit more Old Bay seasoning on it while they're still moist. Sit down with your crabs and your corn on the cob and your ice cold beer and enjoy them with your friends and family.